Hi, Caroline. This is so good to see you.
Good to see you too, Lori. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this.
Absolutely. I'm excited. You and I have known each other for, I don't even want to say, it gives our ages away.
All right. We are proud of who we are and the years we have lived, right? Yeah.
I'm joking. When I moved to Boulder, a few years after I moved from Tokyo, Japan, I think you may have been doing your Nia, which is a dancing technique, and you were quite popular. And what brought me in was your beautiful, bright spirit and your amazing sense of humor.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the moments where I could be in a class of yours with how many people would be in a room? Sometimes 50.
Yeah, we had up to 75 at one point.
Yeah. It didn't matter what space I was in the room. I knew that I was always safe enough to express myself.
Mm. Mm.
And sometimes having some difficult moments and being able to just let the emotions come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not to have anyone grab me and say, "Are you okay?" Or just let me be wherever I needed to be. And most of the time it's joyous celebration and laughter and enjoying your comments about coffee or cheesecake or something. I'm a foodie and you are too.
We enjoy food 100%.
Exactly.
And we love dance and movement. And you know, it's funny, I haven't thought back on that time when we had such huge classes and you were in them. And what I know that happened during that time, which was so cool for all of us, including me, was it was such a safe place for us to come and to dance and move. And we all went through so many transitions back then, you know, gosh, I remember, I mean, I went through transition, you know, the transition of like, you know, going through a divorce and, you know, horseback riding accidents, and God, everybody was just going through so much stuff, you know, and it was really amazing what happened in that space, you know, because it did feel really safe. Yeah, that was a really powerful time, wasn't it?
It really was.
Yeah, the community, just like the community is we've all gone different directions, but if we run into each other somewhere, we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. So you were quite a pioneer in a way,
yeah.
Bringing that into our consciousness, much needed, having had various martial arts experiences and loved dance since I was small. And I got this vision that I evidently have to tell that happened for Christmas Eve when I was probably 8 years old. And the kids would be fed in the kitchen. I was sitting near the fruit bowl. And I said, okay, after we're done with this, put this certain song on. And I was stuffing oranges down the front of my leotard. And I walked with my back towards the audience. And then they started the music and I started shimmying. And then I turned around and there were these oranges that were shimmering.
That's awesome.
But that humor, that expression, that safety that I could, you know, you used to say, what's your famous thing when we shimmy?
Oh yeah, shake your nipples.
So it was just like, that's your humor and the way of your expression. It seems like that was
yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were a part of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, I went way out there for all of that, including my Christmas story that now the
new version of Carmen Miranda.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like so much of that was me. Like no one had to teach me that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of movement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Playfulness, right? Being playful and just like your own expression. And I think there's something really powerful too about feeling like you can express yourself the way you want to and the way you're most comfortable doing it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Yeah. And one of the things, like just thinking about like that technique, working with that technique and working,
Yes.
if people don't know what we were talking about is the Nia technique. And what we do in the Nia technique is we blend different dance forms with different martial art forms. And it's fairly simple choreography. And then you infuse this simple choreography with these different dance forms. So you might be doing a step forward and back and you do a shimmy like we were just talking about, or you do a block, a martial art block. And what's so cool about this is that when you infuse these different movement forms, it shifts the way the energy moves in your body, because you feel a lot different doing a shimmy, which is taken from jazz, right? Which is a sexier, really fun, playful movement than you do doing a block, right? Or a punch or, something like that. It shifts you emotionally, right? And it changes your physiology. And, there are people that love the shimmy, right? But hate the block, like for me, I hated in the beginning doing martial arts and using my voice, having to say like, hey, and no. Oh my God, I couldn't do it. In the beginning, I was like, hey, no. But I could do modern dance and I could do the funk part of it, So yeah, I think that's what it was. We say that kind of movement really does heal you, because the shifting all those different emotions through the body, right? It feels safe and it feels fun and it feels playful. It doesn't feel like, you're doing a big, huge, massive therapy session,
Exactly. Yeah. And it's in the flow of your own expression.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you do what's comfortable.
Yeah.
You did step into that because you were able to go, ha, and Kia, and make all that noise, and even roll on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I hate that. Well, you take someone who was a ballet dancer for a long time, right? Where everything is very poised and very controlled, right? So you take, and which, that's the way it is. And then to like roll on the floor and, improvise movement, I was like, I don't know what to do here, So, yeah. I guess it would be like, people who are always used to cooking with a recipe. And then you're like, and you're like, I don't know. I lost my cookbook. I have to improvise. Like, I don't know. How do I do it?
That's a great example. I love that.
Yeah, do it by taste. Taste it again. Does it need more salt? Does it need some pepper? Does it need cheese? Does it need butter? What does it need? Right?
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. And since then, you and I both, of course, as we're in this human body of the process of aging and also injuries and how we recover. So I've also been very much interested in how food heals and supplements that are food-based without synthetics and things like that.
Yeah. Food is medicine, I think, is huge. And you and I both know of how, a lot of how you feel is going to be determined by what you're eating, what you're putting into your body. Yeah. And I was thinking today it'd be fun to talk about, how to, strengthen your foundation. How do you strengthen your foundation? We all know that right now the world is just like crazy out there. And I know for me, the last couple of years, I've felt like really rocked on my foundation, like, oof, what the hell's going on? And I thought we might talk about just like different tools and things that we can do to make strengthening your foundation easy, right? It doesn't have to be a big, huge deal. We can talk about that. We can talk about food. We can talk about supplements. We can talk about, exercise and meditation and the importance of sleep and all that stuff.
Yeah.
People can pick and choose, what works. Sorry, and I want to add too, you were really instrumental with the 2 readings that you did for me and the energy clearing you did for me. That was massive. And I think more people need to know about this, so.
It's fascinating. I always find when people have had struggles almost in the sense of, I've done so much. What's missing?
Exactly right. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. What's that piece that I need? Yeah.
I love it because the universe sends me the people to work with so I can do my work, and that they come in their right timing, so I have people just get what they need and then they're off to the next thing. And I have clients that schedule every month.
I think that that's a great idea, because then my sense of that is then you would just keep going deeper and deeper and getting more and more layers of just, let's call it gunk out.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Gunk.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's very appropriate to have pauses for the integration of the work, and then also the exploration of them in the world as to who they are at that junction. And
do you find with all the healings that you're doing, is there any common denominator at all?
There are seasons of similarities where a lot of people are dealing with the old emotional, it could be all just parental stuff or identity. Yeah, so there are themes, and sometimes like, oh yeah, this is up again, for people. I bring through whatever needs to come through for that person,
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Yeah. And then your work is amazing. I feel completely re-energized and like, I don't know, cleaned out isn't the right phrase for it, but cleaned out and opened up.
Yes.
After the 2 seasons that I did, like the first one was really amazing that we did. And then the second one was even better, right? It went down another layer for me.
Yeah.
And what I love too, is that it just keeps evolving and opening, right? There's more and more releasing and letting go, and more new things keep coming in because of the releasing and letting go.
Right. And, like I say to people, there's always going to be layers. I mean, that's the part of being a human, and having emotional body and physical body and spiritual body and mental body. And so which one is going to F us up more, what are we going to get stuck in?
Yeah. Depends, I guess, where you are in your life, right?
Exactly. And some people, as it's a past life thing comes up that gets removed, or at least brought to the surface, acknowledge it. Some past lives, it's just there for me to acknowledge. I say, hey, do you know that you were this in a past life? There's nothing to be healed here. Oh yeah, I've been told that 3 times. That sort of thing happens. And it's like, just kind of like that validation that, okay, that's an aspect of you that you are bringing forward in this life, and is it positive or negative? What's your consciousness around that? Speaking of the work in your coming to see me, it was quite joyous for me and rewarding, because we'd known each other for so long.
Yeah, I think it's 20 years.
Yeah, I've seen you go through a lot of things and a lot of transitions with health, and losing your horse, and all those emotive, and then still keeping your course, in the sense of you serve so many people in your practices. I mean, Pilates, dance, your wellness program, and things like that. And so you had held the space for me through my dance stuff, and then I was able to do this. That was full circle for me.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I'm glad. Yeah, that's cool. And then it strengthened our relationship, which is really.
Yeah, I really feel how different you are since the sessions.
Really?
Cool. Yeah. I know you've run into some people who said, what have you done? Because they've told me.
They have?
What are you doing right now? And you mentioned it. And so anyway, I got a kick out of that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, if something so profound happens to me, I'm going to tell people.
Mm.
You know, if I find something that works and something that I really think is going to benefit others, I'm going to share it, you know? Yeah, because I'm here just to help people have a better life, you know, from the inside to the outside, you know?
I love it.
Yeah. Mhm.
So let's talk about food, or where do you want to go with this? I mean, for me, I was such a foodie and so conscious of food, coming from a family of generational farmers, and being brought up with my mom cooking almost everything.
Yeah.
But it's like she had the protein, the starch, you know, the salad and the vegetables, and then dessert.
Right.
And which was usually a gallon of ice cream or homemade baked goods, things like that. I was in the kitchen cooking 4 years old. You know, I was interested in it.
Yeah.
Did you have that relationship with food at that age, or?
No, I didn't really, because bless my mother, my mother loved being outdoors. She played tennis, she rode my horse, she was always outside. My mom was a real adventurer. She wasn't thrilled with cooking. And she would come in, this is my memory, she'd come in, she'd start the pork chops in the pan and go outside and weed the garden. And she'd come in and she'd flip them and she'd go back out. Now, it's probably a very skewed memory, right? But I remember like trying to cut those pork chops. And so she really loved her vegetables. She wasn't a huge fan of meat, but my dad loved his meat and his potatoes and his bread. She loved her vegetables. And so I think I don't know, she's probably mad at my father too. It's probably why she cooked meat. I don't know. That's a whole nother topic. But I always loved eating vegetables with my mom. And my mom loved to bake as well, because my grandmother loved to bake. So I can't. Food was not great when I was growing up. I have to say that the baked goods were really good, but not the food really. The vegetables, yes, but not the other part of it. And my two younger brothers are incredible in terms with food, because one of my brothers went to the Culinary Institute and became a chef, and he's a brilliant chef. And then my other brother just is a master with food. He does all kinds of great things with food. And now I love food. Once I learned, I'd say in my early 20s, when I learned what better food was, you know, I think the other thing that happened, well, here's what I know now. When we were growing up, you know, I didn't know this, but we didn't have a lot of money, right? I didn't know any better. You just don't know. This is just the way it is, right? When you're growing up. And so, so the food wasn't great, right? You know, there was like liver and onions and tongue and, you know, these cuts of meat that were just like, ick. And so I definitely had some food issues that I didn't even realize until I got into my 20s and I got married. You know, like I hated chicken salad because the chicken salad in my house growing up was the very last pieces of chicken on the bone, and then mixed in with a lot of mayonnaise and celery. And so I just remember being like, right. Or it was chunks of gristle or like, you know, stringy celery, you know, so I was like, chicken salad, that's disgusting. And it wasn't until my former husband's like, no, taste this chicken salad, you'll like it. And I was like, oh, that's really good. Right. Yeah. So, and then I also, when I started working in restaurants and I saw other ways that food could be prepared. And now, you know, I mean, you know this, you and I are both huge foodies now. And, you know, one of the things that's so interesting is I eat a lot. I eat a lot of food and I love food. And, you know, food is not my enemy. If you know how to eat well and eat, you know, for your body type and avoid certain things, right? Like the white flour and the white sugar. And I think we all pretty much know what those things are now, you know, and just really indulge in the really good things, you're going to feel good and you're going to enjoy your life a lot better and you're going to love food, you know? And I think nowadays too, most places you can go out and eat really well, eat good and clean. And Yeah. And make food, make food like one of a really pleasurable experience. Like, right. You and I have done that. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, we do know how to do that. I remember my mom pulling out the Campbell's cream of mushroom soup and all that stuff. And all of these things that were time savers and also economically smart, but also things that were pushed at that time, margarine and things like that. And nowadays we've become smarter consumers. I've been a label reader for at least 30 plus years. Being that I had children who had dietary things, and I was already sensitive 35 years ago to gut stuff. I myself, when I lived in New York City, I was tested and I had heavy metals. I also was painting with my hands. So I had, thankfully, I had gone to a nutritionist who did the testing and was able to say, okay, we're going to get you cleared out here, and really got me off of gluten and sugars and processed foods. I mean, I'd still have to eat diner food from time to time, but I'd stick with real potatoes or real, but having that awareness that I had something going on and certain diagnoses could be lessened or addressed through food.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Japan, I was in an ideal space because my body wasn't overloaded with yeast, candida, and heavy metals that back then really weren't, it was just coming out.
Yeah, wasn't talked about.
No, wasn't talked about. I was pretty much hypervigilant. And then when I went to Japan, there was so much culinary pleasure. And then also me cooking at home, and then meeting friends who also were amazing chefs in their own right, from Thailand and then from Finland, and just experiences with travel and being able to find different things that was not the American style of food. And what our food chart says is what you're supposed to have.
Those food charts are awful.
Yeah. And all of the manufactured substances and things like that. Yeah. I call it the war food.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wow.
So where it started getting more integrated into our system throughout the world. And there are countries now that banned certain additives and certain things that America is like, no, you can have that in the food. You can have that.
Like to say, it's fine. It's not that much.
So that's kind of my background too, is just coming through a healing process of trying to rid myself and do a chelation of metals and things like that. Before it was, you can take this zeolite, which is nowadays kind of the natural thing to do, but back then it was a whole other dietary process. I'm kind of giving all my backstories for the timing, and now I think the food is imperative. I personally get my meats from my local farmers.
Yeah, I've got to start doing that too.
I get my seasonal vegetables from my local farmer, and that biome, the gut biome, from having that local biome, the dirts that are, the things that are in my environment, it's copacetic.
Absolutely. It's like they say, when people have, allergies, get honey, get some local honey, and take what I think it's a tablespoon a day of that local honey to help with your allergies. Yeah. Because the microbiome is everything. The microbiome of the soil. We all have a microbiome in our gut. We have one on our skin. The microbiome is everything. And you mentioned my wellness business, and that's what we do. We work with the gut microbiome, and with the soil being so toxic now with glyphosate and all the pesticides and everything that's in it. Even if we are eating organic and eating really well, we're, those pesticides and that glyphosate are still in the air, right? It goes up when it rains and it comes down, and it still gets on our organic food. So, you can be eating really, really well, but still need some support for your gut microbiome, and so a good, pre and probiotic is going to be really beneficial to help with your gut microbiome, because really how you feel is not just in your head, it starts in your gut. And so
Absolutely.
when my new passion is helping people feel better, right? Balancing out their gut health so that they get dopamine and serotonin and GABA flowing so that they feel better, right? So, one of my friends who tried these pre and probiotics said, "Oh my God, is it possible that I'm actually waking up happy and I'm not screaming at my 4-year-old?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what that is." Yeah. Really tweaking your gut health. That is everything. To me, that is the fountain of youth, because when I got sick back in 2014, 2015, from living in a house full of mold and then getting parasites because my guts were so wrecked from the mold, we eat parasites all the time, but if your system is strong, you'll just pass them through. But if your system is weak, those parasites will be like, "Oh my God, let's stay here and have some babies," and that cycle begins, and it's rough to get rid of them. And I know so many people who just have gut issues and are like, "Yeah, I was in Latin America. I spent, a couple weeks in Mexico." I mean, everybody goes to Mexico, right? And vacations, and they're like, "God, my gut just hasn't been the same since." So, sometimes we really do need to go inside and just really just look at our gut health.
Absolutely.
So,
It's being mindful about what you're doing and the activity and why you're doing it, in the sense of choices in food.
yeah,
And
that's right. And eating the good food too, right?
exactly. And for me, I have found that I'm normally more of a meat and veggies person, more paleo. I'm an O blood type, and that typically serves me. But it's really having that grass-fed beef or really good farm-raised animals, that a lot of the farms around me are sustainable, where they grow the crops that feed the animals.
So I love the farmers markets in the summertime.
Yeah, it's good. I'd like to make sure that I have your information that I can list in the video so people can get a hold of you.
Yeah. I'm my goal is to help, people, women in particular, be the best that they can be from the inside out, to be healthy, body, mind, spirit, and emotion. And so if anybody wants help with getting their bodies in shape, I'm happy to do it. Happy to help you, give you some guidance. If anybody is looking for, if they feel like their guts are off or they just can't get themselves healthy, I'm happy to help you with that. If you're feeling like, part of working with the gut microbiome and the gut brain axis is when you do start to balance out your gut health, you feel less stressed and less anxious, and you start sleeping better. And, there's a lot of talk now about the importance of sleep. So, you've got to eat well, like we're talking about, and you need to take good supplements because you just do. And how's that for science? You just do. And then sleep so that you can repair and recover, and so that's part of getting the gut health balanced out.
Yeah, I find that sometimes gut stuff is going on. There's a sense of elevated anxiety.
Yeah.
And so you can't settle into that rest. And the cysteine levels can also be raised, which keep you kind of buzzing, where you have the cysteine from like allergies, where you take an antihistamine.
Yeah.
Knowing these words and doing your research, basically, which is, I pulled a couple cards because normally I for these I'm like, I don't need to pull cards for our conversations. And I kept getting, no, you need to pull 2 cards.
Cool.
And so I pulled from the Raphael deck, do more research, because I'm like, what do the people need to know? It's about empowering yourself.
Seriously. Yeah. And in terms of research, there are some amazing podcasts out there. And I just came across a guy on podcast, Max Lugavere, and I think I'm spelling his name right, Lugavere. He's a guy out of LA. He's brilliant with nutrition, and brilliant with, God, the science of how the body works. He talks about microbiome. He talks about all these different systems in the body. The guy is brilliant, and he's cute. So it's, listening to him, Max Lugavere, I think is how you say it. He's great. I've learned a lot from him. There's amazing podcasts out there.
Yeah, I got hooked into Zach Bush, Dr. Zach Bush, who, yeah.
Zach is the best. I love him.
He's so scientific based.
I adore him.
And so spiritually sound.
Oh, did you see the podcast he did on death and dying?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
I tear up just thinking about that podcast.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And he has like 3 different specialties in his profession. So, and autism is one of them.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
And so he has all these perspectives.
Wow.
So I just love that. I just want to also, so the do more research came up.
Yeah.
And so the other one was exercise is key.
Yes.
Yeah. So movement, and it's not like you have to go.
No, go take a walk. Stretch.
Stretch. Yeah.
Stretch.
Yeah.
Move your body. Move your flipping body. Yeah.
Feel your bones in your skin. Like
feel. Like breathe into your whole body.
Yeah. Bring in source.
Seriously. Yeah. Yeah. And breathe deep, and the breathing can be as simple as, for a while, I was doing kind of a combination of the Tony Robbins and Wim Hof breathing. My cat gets really upset when I do it. And then she comes over and she starts like, what are you doing? She thinks something's wrong. So I have to like go in the bathroom and shut the door. But I found somebody else, I don't know who it was, who said, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and do that a few times. And you can do it during the day when you're feeling anxious. You can do it at 3 o'clock in the morning when you wake up and your mind starts to race. And I've done it in the middle of the night when I've woken up and I'm like, go right back to sleep again. It's really interesting. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and repeat. It's nice. It really shifts your nervous system.
Yeah. It's such a conscious way of being. It empowers you to not just go for a pill. It brings you into a space of ownership and responsibility and a deep, deep honoring of who you are and what you're investing in, the choices that you make.
It allows you to be really present too, right?
Absolutely.
Just in the moment.
Yeah. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add to this conversation?
I think I'm good.
Good. I just want to make sure people know that this is all freeform. It is what it is. So be patient with our pauses and our just being present, because in that presence, there is wisdom and just emanating light, and just being in the space of receiving. It doesn't always come through words. And know the people that you surround yourself with also are parts of your energetic food. And you have choices in that. And every day you can bless those that find other paths, and that you have to give space and time, because that's not what you want to be in or around. And honor yourself in those choices, and ride the wave. And sometimes we fall into the depths of whatever the consciousness, that whole big mass consciousness, collective consciousness that is working through. And if we bring ourselves on these understandings that we are part of it all, and at the same time to acknowledge in that moment, we need to tend to ourselves in deep and caring ways. And that's a big foundation.
Yeah, I agree.
You just even walking on the earth, hugging a tree, touching a leaf, can do magic for your energy. Yeah. And that also provides foundation to the soul. Yeah, to connection. Well, Carolyne, I so love you and I appreciate you.
I love you too.
So thank you so much. And I'll talk to you soon.